A very good morning to you, dear, and we're very excited that you have time to join us this morning on the Idea Morning Digest. And now, this is the discussion segment, and we're going to be talking about something very, very important. And we've talked about it last week, and this week we want to continue. And as I told you, that we'll be having an expert come talk to us about it. So today we are tackling a development that has quietly shaken Africa's export economy. And in the 2000s, we saw that the African Growth and Opportunity Act, popularly known as AGOA, was signed into law. It opened the U.S. market to eligible African countries by allowing duty-free access for over 6,000 product lines. For years, AGOA has been a lifeline for manufacturers, for farmers, for textile industries and exporters across the continent. And in 2023 alone, AGOA imports hit about $9.3 billion, showing just how crucial this trade policy has become. But recently, the policy briefly expired in September 2024. And during that short gap, 32 African countries lost preferential access, forcing importers to, pay standard tariffs. And the result, supply chain disruptions, halted orders, factory slowdowns, and serious blow to employment in export-dependent economies. So the U.S. House has since said the benefits will be restored retroactively. But this damage is already done, and it raises a big question. Can Africa continue to rely on external markets for its growth, or is it, or this is a wake-up call for economic independence? Let's we're having an expert, like I said before, join us. Is going to be helping us unpack what this means, what was lost, and what lies ahead. And we are joined by Tapelo Moeketsi, an African liberty writing fellow, and he is a minority rights advocate and political analyst with a strong focus on African trade and economic development, and he'll be helping us answer the critical questions many Africans are asking right now. That's where we are going to be discussing today, Chidera. So let's just go straight to the question. Tapelo, do we have you there? Yeah, it's very good to have you join us this morning. How is South Africa?
Yeah, the weather is a little bit
I don't think I can hear
hot
him.
and there. Am I audible?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now. How are you this morning?
Okay. I am good, and yourself?
Good, great. Okay, let's just go straight on to the question so we don't have to spend much time. So to start us off, so our viewers can understand, especially for those who may not be familiar, a lot of disruptions, caused a lot of problems, disrupted a lot of businesses. Okay, we have Tapelo back. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible. Am I
Okay. So
audible?
did you get my last question, or I should take it again?
Yes, I got it, and then
Okay,
I got
okay,
somehow cut.
okay,
Yes, I was trying to tap into what AGOA really is.
okay.
AGOA is an African Growth and Opportunity Act. It's a United States trade law which was enacted in the year 2000. It came at a time where Africa economic relied on aids or debt relief. So it came in order to shift from debt to trade. And this came in order to help build an industrialized Africa, create jobs, attract investments, and also to build economic ties between Africa and the US.
Okay, interesting. I think that's essentially telling us that AGWA was designed both as a trade and development, tool, not just a commercial agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Chidera has them.
Okay. Okay. So, we saw the lapses when this policy expired. We saw the lapses. We saw business cancelled. We saw orders cancelled. We saw factories slow down and job losses almost immediately. So, I want to ask: does that suggest that African exporters are too vulnerable to that policy, being that they are not in control of that policy?
It's a little bit tricky because African economies rely heavily on AGOA, and whatever that happens or any policy change that happens in the US causes a damaging and a very sudden impact on our economy. Hence, some of the industries or manufacturing or agricultural industries had to bear the brunt of AGOA being cut, which was in last year.
Okay, so when AGOA briefly expired in 2024, many African countries lost duty-free access almost overnight. So what did the disruption mean for industries that depend heavily on exports?
We saw a lot of industries having to close, and that led to people being laid off. Unemployment started to strike. We saw buyers being interested in other suppliers outside of Africa, which could be Europe or Asia. Products from Africa lost their competitiveness in the US market, and that really caused so much strain on the African economy.
Yeah, quite interesting that would be fair to say that even short policy gaps can cause long-standing consequences, especially on our economy. But then let's talk about the mechanics. Let's talk about the mechanics. When tariffs suddenly came back into effect, how does that shock travel through supply chains, especially from factories to exporters to workers?
When tariff came, they kind of increased on the already existing burden of the card AGOA. The supply chain was a little bit impacted in a way that the supply wasn't really what it used to be, because buyers were finding other markets outside of Africa, which I mentioned earlier that they scouted them. It could be in Europe or Asia. And this created a huge impact. Also, the tariffs come at a time where Africa is trying to thrive or trying to search for better alternatives in order to continue with the selling or exporting their products outside of Africa.
Okay.
Okay, that's being said. Now, the US has made a decision to restore benefits retroactively. So, do you think that is enough? Do you think it is enough? Why? If you think it is enough, why? Why do you think it is enough? Or if you think it is not enough, why not? Why do you think it will not be enough?
It's not enough because allegedly it's going to be renewed for a 1-year period. We were expecting it to be renewed for at least 3 years. Right now, 1 year after that, and then it expires, you see the uncertainty that comes with it. While investors or buyers are already finding other markets outside of Africa, it being renewed and its time frame really isn't good for our African economy. And I think it's about time we start taking leverage of the African Continental Free Trade Act.
Okay. But do you
in
think
order to bridge the gap
okay.
between the AGOA and yes.
Okay.
Okay, but do you think businesses can, recover losses after such uncertainty, even with the AFCT in place?
It's going to be very tricky for them to recover their losses. It will take time for them to get where they were before they were impacted. But with time, they'll surely recover and start to thrive.
Okay. So, let's zoom out now a little. What are the long-term risks for Africa in relying so heavily on, external markets like the United States for growth and exports? Because this is not me saying, because a lot of people have said, support partnerships is very important, which we know it is. But then on another hand, we are looking at that over dependence. So what do you think? Do you think relying heavily on these external markets like the United States market for growth and export is good?
It's good at some extent, but also bad due to the uncertainty that comes with it. Because when there's mechanisms such as AGOA expires, also when we are being burdened with tariffs, right now I can make an example of the white genocide that was allegedly being said to be happening in South Africa, and also the Christian persecution that was said to be happening in Nigeria, those also affect how we deal with this outside market that are in the Western or in the Eastern. Hence, I suggested that Africa needs to stand on its own and find other mechanisms. African Union has the already existing African Continental Free Trade Act, area rather.
Okay.
I know you've spoken about the dependence of Africa on, you know, the US, the external markets and all that. So if it ends tomorrow, if it finally ends tomorrow, like they allegedly said, it will end in 1 year, just for a period, it will be for a period of 1 year. So if it finally ends tomorrow, what do you think African countries, what do you think African exporters should do differently to protect their job, to protect factories and exports? What do you think they should do?
I think it's about time they start searching for other better alternatives, which could be in the European market or the Asian market, in order to help them to still keep on thriving in case anything happens, because we never know of these uncertainties. In order to avoid factories being closed, workers being laid off, buyers finding better alternatives, etc.
Okay, so are there any examples?
Also building the intra-African trade.
Okay, interesting.
Try to invest to move from raw material.
Country is coming from another place. So how can we, meet with our own demand? Okay, we have Tapelo back. Okay, sorry about that. Our network is not so good. Or is it yours? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So you were saying, or you were done?
Yeah, I was done.
Okay. So a follow-up question to what you just said, and okay, are there practical, examples of policies that could cushion shocks without hurting competitiveness?
I don't want to make it a little bit controversial.
Okay.
Although I could mention BRICS, which the US sees or terms as a very enemy to it and to its economy.
Okay, interesting. So many things are coming to my mind now, but I'm just conscious of time. That's the reason why. But there's an ongoing debate around Agoa, and has it some people are on this side saying, has it genuinely helped Africa build that strong local industries, or has some form of partnership here and there is not bad, but it should come as the name, as the name implies, partnership, support. That's how it should stand. Growth and development. Partnership and support should not begin to look more like they have to make a decision for things to flow down here. Okay, we have you back. We're very sorry about the network, but then yes, we were talking about should I go over the question again?
No, I heard it.
Okay.
Although I got cut. Yes,
we can hear you.
Yeah. If I could put it, you were mentioning something along the lines of dependency, and if Agoa has really impacted Africa in a very good way. Okay. I'm going to go with both points. Okay. It has created dependency, and it also has created a difference in Africa as far as our economy is concerned. According to the International Trade Administration, it showed that from 2001 to 2022, exports such as vehicles or auto parts from South Africa increased by 40%. And that's a huge number. And it tells of the significance that Agoa has created. We also have textile and apparels in Ghana, which have employed women largely. And this is so telling of the impacts that Agoa has came. On the other hand, it has created dependency in a way that we have just laid back or simply relaxed. Hence, when the uncertainty comes, it's when we start rushing to search for better markets elsewhere.
Okay, I think just like you said rightfully, Agoa has, been more like a ladder for industrialization, yet we still have all our doubts. Yeah, we mustn't be too comfortable, about it. But if Africa wants to, reduce its vulnerability, how should countries go about diversifying their export markets and export products?
Okay, I think our governments should try to take leverage of the African continental free trade area, and also our governments need to start investing in small or micro medium enterprises, and also in the digital space or in other infrastructure, in order to help create smooth all the transition between intra-African trade.
Okay, I want you to, about intra-African trading now, I want you to expand more on that. Talking about, regional trade frameworks like the AFCT, I want to understand how it can really be a part of the solutions, because it's more like a covering for just intertrade between African countries. So I want you to expand on that, how it is going to help beyond Africa.
I think it too as well comes with a duty free.
Okay.
And hence the products will be exported freely. For example, I did mention of Ghana, which produces cocoa-based products. If they could be exported somewhere in Africa where there's a need for them, that could also help create a difference or cause an impact in the Ghana economy, which reflect the whole of the African economy.
Okay. I think that's good. But looking ahead now, Chidera, I think
that's all. But do you have any last word for us? Do you have any last word for Africans? What do you want us to do better? And do you think this is like a warning signal to the government, to African governments especially?
My last word would be that Africa should start treating AGOA as an advantage, and we need to bind or lock together to build a strong economy, regardless of the uncertainties that may come with it. We need to build an Africa which is not dependent on the outside markets. Those are my last word.
No. Okay. Okay, I want to say a big thank you to you, Tapelo. Very good to have you, share your insights with us, help us break down this very complex issue that's been causing uproar and debates in Africa for a while now. I think a lot of people have a clear understanding to an extent of what AGOA means and, where Africa stands with this. Thank you very much and have a pleasant day.
Thank you.
I'm really humbled and thank you so much for having me.
And I hope when we call in again, you'll come join us on the show.
Yeah, I'll try to book a flight and then be in studio with you.
Okay, do have a nice day.
Bye.
All right. Okay, that's it. We've heard what Tapelo have to say, especially about AGOA. A lot of questions, a lot of talks about AGOA, but he has helped to an extent break down all of those questions, help us answer, those aching questions, especially for our business people. I think this is very important for them to watch. So if you find this, you have to find this very interesting because it affects everybody. It doesn't only affect the business people, it affects everybody, because if there is no trade, there is no form of livelihood somehow. Yes. Some things we depend on, some supplies we depend on, would not be available for us. So it concerns everybody. So we want you to join the discussion on AGOA for today. If you want to continue this conversation, you can follow us on our social media platforms on Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, all on Idea TV, and of course via our email at Idea TV Limited. And you can also send questions if you have questions for him. Some of the questions we have not really touched that's been aching you can send them to us, and also share your comments, share your own ideas. We want to hear your opinion, and you can use the hashtag AGOA alert so we know what you're talking about. So thank you for watching. My name is Cynthia Bassi and I have been with
Chidera Okere.
Yes, and this is how we say thank you, good morning, and stay productive.